Hey everyone, it is Michelle Malkin, hashtag Malkin Live. It has been, I think, a couple of weeks since I've done a stream on YouTube and Facebook, but I have not been doing streaming on Twitter since the day before the inauguration when I was locked out. In the last week, I decided, since my account was unlocked, to go ahead and use it, and I have to give credit and praise to my friends at VDare, Peter Brimelow for nagging me, and James Kirkpatrick as well, I think, for just getting on my case to use these platforms while we still have them. And yes, fine, go ahead and chase us. We're digital nomads, but we always reconstitute ourselves. And this is a great part of the silver lining of adversity, because it tests your character and the strong survive. And one of the strongest voices in the America First movement. And, you know, in a way, it's like, I got to stop describing us as a dissident movement, because we are becoming the mainstream. And I'm going to just go ahead without further ado and bring in my very special guest, Lauren Witzke. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for taking the time. I know you've been a busy gal, a loud and proud gal, and it was great to celebrate International Women's Day, watching you burning down the house everywhere. So happy International Women's Day week, whatever.
Yeah.
Women, right?
I did that on purpose. I knew it was National Women's Day.
Yeah, right. And I want to catch up with you because let's see, we've had you on the live stream before the election, and then we're so happy to have you on my Newsmax show on Sovereign Nation before the election as well. And then I got to see you in the flesh in Orlando at AFCA. Yes, awesome. Yes. And I love the pictures we were able to take together, and we had lunch, and it was just so nice. It's never enough time. But a lot has happened, and you have triggered so many people, all the right people, or rather the wrong people. So you were suspended from Twitter last week. Let's start with that. Why?
Okay, so it all started after CPAC. So at CPAC, there was a panel with Abby Johnson. Jenna Ellis was on this panel, and they were talking about the attack on traditional marriage and how the GOP and CPAC have been infiltrated by LGBTQ donors who are spotlighting transgenderism at CPAC and replacing it with the traditional family, which we are the party of traditional family. It's still on our platform. But anyway, so after the article came out, I noticed that subversive pervert, Richard Grinnell, put out a post spotlighting a transgender that was at CPAC. He was spotlighting that she was there, how inclusive we are, and just giving this woman a platform. And I asked him, I said, are we celebrating mental illness now? And oh my gosh, the LGBTQ alphabet mafia, they came for me. Every grifter and conservative Inc. came after me, telling me how wrong I was, calling me a bigot, just for standing up for traditional marriage. Of course, Rick Grinnell took the victim route, was like, oh, you don't want gays in the Republican Party. No, Rick, I do not want to sacrifice my values, our values as conservatives, to appease 3% of the population who answer to a donor class. So it's absolutely fraudulent. These are the kind of people that were influencing President Trump, and these are the kind of people that are infiltrating the Republican Party. When it comes down to it, Rick, these transgender activists within our party will not stand up for traditional marriage. They aren't even able to speak out against transgender men coming into the women's bathroom or playing sports. Their donors forbid it.
Something.
The way we interrupted their video?
No, how your rates won't go.
What is that? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you notice, they aren't allowed to strongly advocate against these things that we are fighting to protect children. because their donor class will not allow it and they'll rip their funding. And I just called out these frauds for what they were. Twitter has recently changed their terms of service to accommodate pedophilia and pedophiles. Now minor attracted individuals is what they call them, are able to coordinate and talk about sexual acts with children. But there's like certain rules where they aren't allowed, I guess, to post. The line is pictures of them like raping children. It's crazy. But I called it demonic when a demon transvestite was talking about how little girls aren't princesses. They're really kinky, not on the straight and narrow. So if they get abused by a transgender in the bathroom, they were asking for it and they had it coming. Well, I called it demonic, and that's what got me banned. And the LGBTQ mafia is celebrating. These people are celebrating the fact that my voice was silent just for standing up for Christian values and conservatism.
Yeah, here's an article in the National File about that. And the individual that you were pushing back against, who you properly called demonic, had been denigrating traditional parents who objected to these transgenders invading their kids' bathrooms. And he said, like you quoted in your tweet, which is now no longer available because you were suspended over this as quote unquote hate speech, he had written, "There are no princesses. Little girls are also kinky." Alec Vade Manon. Have you been able to find out anything else about this person?
No, I know that they didn't take his tweet down. I know that it's still up, no matter what it's saying. It's saying right there that it's glorifying pedophilia, and it's still right there. And that just goes to show that the people that run Twitter are pedophiles and pedophile sympathizers. That's the only conclusion I can come up to, because Christians are silenced, pro-family people are silenced, people who speak up against this are shut down. And this is the current state. The GOP has allowed this. They've remained stagnant on every issue, big tech, and as this was happening, this has been happening for a couple years. First, they banned Milo, Laura Loomer, Alex Jones, and now everybody. You say one wrong thing and you're gone. And the GOP has allowed it to get this far. And they've also allowed it by infiltrating our party through the LGBTQ lobby. They sold us out for corporate donors.
Yes. And Rick Grinnell is one of those people. He's adored by a lot of the Fox News viewer boomers who are more interested in getting accolades from the left for being tolerant than they are in protecting the traditional nuclear family and upholding the values that, as you say, Lauren, very correctly, are still a part of the GOP platform. And so you have this huge cleavage. It's a Grand Canyon sized gap between the rhetoric and the reality. And many of the leading young quote unquote influencers now have also bought into this alphabet agenda. One of them criticized you as well. Tell us about Rob Smith of TPUSA.
Oh, well, Rob Smith he is TPUSA, which also answers and caters to their LGBTQ donors. They also are not allowed to speak out against these transgenders coming into bathrooms. It's very neutral position because they know they'll lose their funding. Rob Smith came after me, and just simply because I'm a social conservative that believes in traditional family, decided to call me jobless, broke, and irrelevant. So it's great representation of the party of blue jeans and beer and family, like they've been preaching to us all along. And these are the people that we're spotlighting in the Republican Party. They came later. They're libertarians, you know what I'm saying? And I don't understand why they are influencing or taking positions of influence in our party when we were the ones that have always been here fighting for conservative family values. He's absolutely disgraceful. It's really just embarrassing.
It is. It's so cringe, as the young people say, beyond cringe. And it's corrupt is what it is. It's morally corrupt. And what these types of figures do is help condition your rank and file Republicans to continue to compromise, which is what you're always talking about, the the detrimental effects of compromise on our basic values, and the co-optation, which was something of a theme during AFPAC 2. What we're trying to do is warn people about the difference between phony, fake, America First operatives and the real deal. And you are the real deal. It was incredible what you were able to do with your campaign. And we never got to do sort of a post-mortem, but you got more votes than any other Republican candidate in the state of Delaware. You defeated the establishment primary candidate. And boy, does this make a lot of people in the establishment mad. They've tried to destroy your reputation. And I want to bring up, this is just an example of how vile and vicious these people are. You've been very open about your platform of crusading for addiction and recovery, as a ministry. You've gone through that. Your life is an open book, and you're not some perfect little cookie cutter product of the GOP machine. And so this has subjected you to attacks like this one. Let me bring it up. Will Chamberlain, of course, is this, like, he's not even, I mean, is he from this country? I'm thinking, is he British, or I don't know what he is. He might as well be. He's very un-American. He might as well be an alien, libertarian. Does he still run Human Events? At one point he did, which was the storied grassroots newspaper of record for like the real America First movement. And then that was co-opted. I guess he bought it with, limousine liberal, neoliberal money. In any case, here he is. And of course, he went to the Groypers last year and tried to destroy all of us for upholding America First values. Here he is. Hey, Lauren Witzke, I'd be happy to debate you anywhere, anytime on why you should be incarcerated. What the hell? Pardon my French.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's been no secret that I'm in recovery. Surprise, surprise. I struggled with addiction all in my 20s. My platform, I ran on a recovery platform to end the opioid epidemic. Actually, that's why I decided to run. I got sick and tired of my friends overdosing in a McDonald's bathroom or a parking lot, and our elected officials not talking about it. And just the fact that people like this and Con Inc. will come after me for my recovery and my past, but they'll cry for somebody like George Floyd, who died of a fentanyl overdose. Listen, nobody cried for me. Nobody was launching or burning or looting or rioting when I was struggling with addiction. So it's just a double standard, and it just really goes to show the character of the people that we are spotlighting in Con Inc. Does he not realize that in a nation crippled by addiction, coming after somebody in recovery isn't exactly a good look for the Republican Party? And the Republican Party loves him. He is their token, whatever he is. I don't know. I don't know much about him, but it's interesting enough, Michelle, I have had to get a list together of conservative influencers in our party that use drugs that I have to stay away from, to protect myself. And he's one of them. So they come after me the hardest for struggling with addiction when they're still in active addiction themselves, so it's just very interesting to watch. That sucked, it sucked. I felt like the whole world was falling down on me. But I privately got overwhelming support. Like, I have priests reach out to me, pastors reach out to me, saying, thank you. We just needed somebody to say it, like, people are ready to pick up the torch and fight for what matters. It was always about our children. The LGBTQ agenda, the end goal was always the children. They're going to strip parental rights. They're going to illegalize homeschooling. So people have to send their children to brainwashing school to be chemically castrated. This is reality. I'm not even talking crazy anymore. This is where we are at. And the Republican Party has allowed it by propping up people like Will Chamberlain, Rob Smith, who are nothing but a gateway drug to pedophilia. And that's what they are. And somebody having the boldness to finally speak out about it, of course the backlash was, it was rough, but the support has been overwhelming. And I'm so grateful. Many people have given me a voice. I've been glued to this chair all day talking to everybody. So I'm so grateful to everybody who, they can shut down my Twitter, but I can't be canceled,
Yeah, we're uncancelable, uncancelable. I can't say it. We can't be canceled, and unconquerable. You are on Telegram. I want to make sure everybody follows you there at Witzke4DE, and also on Gab at Lauren Witzke DE. And of course, you are one of the spearheaders of holdthelinepac.com. Can you tell everyone who's watching a little bit more about the work you're doing for the PAC?
Right. Yeah. So I am passionate about real, hardcore, social conservative politics. So I realized that we cannot elect America First candidates, get the candidates we want in office until we get election reform. So we're working down on the state level. We're going to save Georgia. I'm going to cut Stacey Abrams off at the knees. I'm coming for Georgia to get the election reform that is needed. We just pushed through 8 bills. We have banning vote by mail, banning the ballot drop boxes, requiring voter ID, just the basics. Civilized societies don't use vote by mail or ballot drop boxes. And we are going to be putting the pressure on Brian Kemp to sign this because he's getting wishy-washy and he's starting to back off. But we have to put the pressure on him and make them feel the heat until we get what we want, which is election reform. If we want to have a prayer in 2022 or 2024, we have to get election integrity. So my 2021, my PAC is actively working on the state level to push through legislation for election integrity. After 2021, Con Inc., the GOP establishment better look out because we are coming for them. And we are going to remove every single one of these people who have betrayed the people they were elected to serve. They've sold out, they're pushing. Okay, so you want to know what they're doing now with the Equality Act? The Republican Party is so spineless and moronic that they are rewriting the Equality Act so it can be more palatable, so Republicans can pass it and be like, oh, we struck down the Equality Act, but they're presenting the same thing with different wording so they can be the heroes. And it's going to be the same rights stripped from parents. It's going to be the same degeneracy taught in our schools. The boys are still going to be able to play with girls. It's just decorated wording. And that is how spineless the Republican Party has become. And they aren't going to defend you against your children. So we have to do it. So that is why we launched Hold the Line PAC, was to fight for traditional values, to get people in office that are going to go to DC and not sell out to lobbyists, but to a lot of people I would love to have 100 Marjorie Taylor Greenes in office.
Yeah.
Or SARS, Could you imagine? We never lose, so that's what I'm going to be focusing on, and that's what I'm doing. So if you want to support me, I appreciate it if people would visit our website, holdthelinepac.com. We will not stop fighting for you, and keep an eye out for us in 2022 because we're going to be launching it's going to be great. It's going to be a bloodbath for the establishment GOP, and I can't wait.
Fantastic. Of course, that'll be used to accuse both of us of fomenting violence because we use metaphors that adults realize are metaphors, but right, this is the
metaphorically, of course,
but this is the risk we face every time we use these platforms. And I had to relaunch the live stream on Twitter with you. You're the perfect person to do it because you've been battling the censors and the overlords on all of the core issues of America First. Of course, the social conservative values, our Christian values, and support of the American traditional nuclear family. And of course, all of the work you did during your campaign to crusade for an immigration moratorium, which every single America First candidate running in 2022 and whoever ends up being the presidential candidate in 2024 must sign on to. That was such important work that you did on that. And of course, a very innocuous and plain-spoken factual tweet that you did on demographics and mass migration across Europe and how it transformed those nations is what got you initially. Was that your first?
My first was a mass migration post, just pointing out the fact and the effects and the consequences of mass migration. Like you said, there isn't a single America First candidate that shouldn't be running on an immigration moratorium in 2022, especially when Joe Biden's planning on opening up our borders. There is no reason for Americans or America to have to take in one single immigrant, because we have to put Americans first. We can't afford to take care of the world. And there's no excuse. You know, people are afraid of being called names. Listen, our countries are at stake. People cannot afford to have families, raise children. They don't have fair wages because they're forced to compete against cheap foreign labor that'll work way longer for way less. You know, so if you're truly America first, immigration should be on the forefront of your platform. No excuses.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that was so important about you bringing this to the forefront is that for a lot of the sort of boomer rank and file Republicans out there, the normies, as we call them, they're able to at least accept that illegal immigration is a threat to every aspect of our lives. And we see that now with the latest caravans and the latest surges, and all of the thousands of children are being trafficked by coyotes. Again, you're not supposed to talk about all of the human trafficking and the cartels and all that, and you have had firsthand experience with that yourself. So, but in any case, they get that, but they still don't want to make the leap to talking about all of the short-term visitor visas and business visas and student visas and foreign tech worker visas, which you made a huge part of your platform as well, lest they be accused of being bigots and racists and xenophobes. I mean, when you talk to sort of the mainstream of the party, what has been your best approach in getting them to sort of broaden their thinking about mass migration as a whole?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, you know, as we spoke about before, I did have a history of addiction. You know, I was in the trenches. You know, I was a low ball worker for Mexican cartels who were here 100% legally. These people, they don't care that they will sell laced drugs to your children and not think twice about it. The people we are allowing in, because we do not have a merit-based system, which doesn't exist, we are allowing in cartel members, and we are doing it 110% legally. You know, so we have got to shut down immigration. We got to get rid of these people because they will kill Americans, they will kill your children, and they won't think twice about it. We're nothing but disposable assets to them. And that's the truth, you know, and that was my message to them. You know, there's no harm in wanting to evaluate the quality of the people that we're bringing into our country that see us as disposable. You know, there's no excuse. So, you know, that was part of my messaging, but also, you know, the workers' wages as well. With the H-1Bs, college students are graduating from college with loads of student loan debt, and they're having to compete against Indian guest workers who work for half the price for longer hours. And it's not fair to Americans. You know, this is our country. We should be prioritized for jobs, no excuses. And it's not like there's a shortage in labor. That's a lie. And it's not just jobs that people don't want. You know, that's also a lie. They lie and say, oh, well, you're going to be out there picking lettuce. No, that's not the case. No, these are doctors who are being displaced in the workforce. These are engineers, tech workers that are being displaced in the workforce. You know, and there's no excuse for it. There's absolutely no excuse. President Trump last year played with the idea of shutting down all immigration. Jared Kushner, of course, came in and changed his mind, talked him out of it. But Trump, on his initial instincts, was 100% right. America cannot handle any more immigration, especially now. We need time to heal. We need time to recover, because we will never be great again unless we start putting ourselves first. And that may be selfish, but you know what? Now's the time to be selfish. It is time to take care of our own.
Absolutely. Amen, amen, amen. And, you know, what the left and the open borders globalists on the right call selfishness is what we call sovereignty. Right? I mean, a sovereign nation has to put its own people first. And you are such a great spokeswoman for putting people first. And, you know, and someday we'll have to talk more about this when we have more time. And that's what I love about the live stream format, right? It's like, you know, you go on Fox News, you put I did this for 15, almost 20 years. You put on all of the gloss and the paint and the fake lashes and everything, and you have 3 or 4 minutes to try and distill, really important ideas and principles to people, and you've got somebody yammering in your ear, and you've got some moron shouting, saying like just taking up space, and so and people always think that I'm like so mad and like boiling point all the time, and it's like, no, when you have that limited amount of time, not to sort of stretch out and just be able to talk like a real human being, you end up as a cartoon. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, because I don't know if it was one of Nick's broadcasts yesterday or who it was, but this question of how young people find authenticity and how you maintain authenticity in this manufactured political environment. And if you look at the people who are triggering the establishment the most, people like you, Lauren, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar, there's just some distilled sense of authenticity that you can't market it, you can't buy it, you can't promote it. And so you have to protect it very fiercely. And part of that, which I mentioned at the beginning, was when you've been through adversity, when you've been canceled so many times, when you do a Google search for your name and the first 100 articles are painting this false picture of yourself, you have to believe that what you're doing is right. And then a huge part of that is your faith. And I just wanted to give you a couple of minutes to talk about what role that played in your life, in your survival, and in what you're doing now.
Right. Yeah. Jesus is everything. He is good and he loves us so much. So, I was the most wretched person. Like, I was so dirty. I was so full of sin. My life was so hopeless. And even when I had made my bed in hell, Jesus met me there. I'm going to cry. Okay. So anyway, he did. And, he called me to something greater, and he told me that he had a purpose for me. I went and I had to submit to the process of recovery. It was long. It was painful. I ended up going to a teen challenge out in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. And all I did was just dive into his word. I listened to the things that he had to say about me, and he rebuilt my character from the inside out, and he changed me. But most importantly, he gave me purpose, and he gave me boldness, and he gave me fearlessness. And, I want to encourage anybody watching, I'm sure there's parents out there who have children that are struggling with addiction, and it may seem hopeless, but there's always hope. Hope is so much greater than addiction. And our God is so much greater than the bondage of addiction, and he has good plans for us. So there is always hope. You can always be set free. I'm a walking, talking miracle. I shouldn't be here today, but I am. And it's because he is awesome and he is so good. So I just want to encourage your listeners, no matter what you're going through, it may not just be addiction. It could be you're struggling with, your sexual morality. You could be struggling with your gender, even your identity. There is a deliberate attack on people, especially our youth, to kind of just dismantle who they are. And, God has something else to say about that. He has something else to say about you, and that's for sure. And, he's everything to me. I trust him. He sustains me. And just even when the world comes after me, conning, my own allies come after me, he is still there. He is eternal. He never changes. And that I take heart in that, and I try to be a voice for him,
And you are a wonderful, blessed voice. I want to bring up, because I had just posted this on Twitter. This is from 2 Corinthians. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. And you've embodied that throughout your campaign and post-campaign, and with all the vital work that you're doing now for America First and Hold the Line PAC.com. And I know you've got to run off to volleyball, which again, like a real person thing. I love it. I did pickleball.
Nice.
So go ahead. I mean, we have to have healthy minds, souls, and bodies. All the gripers that are in the audience there, go work out. Go do your face pulls, team activity, and we'll catch up with you soon, Lauren. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Love you.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Take care.